Good morning, boys, girls, and goobers. Today we're going to talk about why AEW signed Sting and how he will be used.
Backstage reaction to Kenny Omega revealing he's off to Impact Wrestling.
Got some news about Kenny Omega? Nope, not Kenny Omega. Sting's AEW t-shirt, which is already breaking sales records for pro wrestling tees.
And is Kenny Omega the best wrestler ever? I'm Adam Wilborn.
And I'm Andy Murray.
And this is the news.
We're going to kick things off by talking about Sting. We've got lots of stuff still trickling down from the eventful evening on Wednesday. Why didn't I just say Wednesday night? I am a stupid bald moron with massive comedy ears. We're going to talk about Sting, who debuted in AEW at Winter is Coming. Big moment. It was announced afterwards that he has signed a full-time, multi-year deal with the promotion. But will he be wrestling at 61 years old? Well, this report from Dave Meltzer of Wrestling Observer Radio would suggest probably not. Dave came through with all kinds of additional info here, saying that Sting's current physical condition basically means that he won't be taking bumps in AEW, and if the promotion does elect to do something physical with Sting, they will take every precaution they possibly can. They will do everything in their power to ensure that he avoids getting hurt. He is obviously, he's 61 years old. He has a long history of neck problems. Of course, the one that technically ended his in-ring career while wrestling Seth Rollins in WWE. Horribly unfortunate situation there. So even though he can't take bumps, however, AEW still plan on using Sting as a full-time TV performer, and not just somebody who makes occasional appearances. Sting's going to be there pretty much every week by the sounds of things. With regards to why he was signed, AEW wanted to tap into that old TNT audience, the people who remember him wrestling for WCW on Nitro, 20, 25 years ago, worked the last ever match on TNT before Dynamite's debut back in 2001, of course. There's so much history there between Sting, WCW, TNT. Tony Schiavone ties that together nicely on commentary as well. And the big debut was deliberately timed around the Christmas holiday in order to give AEW momentum at what is typically quite a tricky time of year. And I think timing it around this specific time of year where the winter is coming added to the presentation quite a bit, I think. Like that snow trickling down, it's such a small touch, but I thought it added a whole lot to the whole grandeur of this Sting entrance. The music by Mikey Ruckus was tremendous. The imagery on the Titantron, it's not WWE, the Tonytron, I guess.
Yes.
was on point. The whole thing resonated really strongly. I marked out like a little child. It's the kind of moment that makes you really fall in love with pro wrestling and the kind of thing you'll remember for the rest of your life. So it's to kind of circle back on all that. I'm rambling a bit here, as I, never do. AEW going to use Sting on a full-time basis, hopefully in some kind of complimentary role. They've been good at using legends so far. Let's see how this plays out.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not hugely surprised by this news. I think it was quite wishful thinking to expect him to step back between the ropes, certainly on a regular basis. I mean, we may well still get something a la Bret Hart in 2010 in WWE, perhaps. I could very easily see that. Some very sort of well-organised tag match, perhaps, let's say. But I think the general consensus, aside from the just mass hysteria when he popped up, and mass relief for me, because I thought for a brief second it was going to be Shaq, It makes a whole lot of sense. And like you say, they've got a great track record with this. I mean, you just look across the talent they've got. And when I interviewed Darby Allin earlier this week, he was talking about, bending the ear of people like Taz and Chris Jericho and Jake the Snake and Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson. It's like you've got all those wise heads there. And this isn't, TNA when it's just like, well, I'm a legend, so I'm going straight into the world title picture. I think it was very disingenuous for certain fans to be like, oh, this is just like, them taking WWE's cast-offs and taking someone's spot in the main event. I don't think anyone really thought that was the case. And just occasionally, like you said yesterday, maybe just enjoy nice things in wrestling instead of getting angry about them. And I think this is the best position for AEW and the best thing for Sting, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes, man, you just got to let yourself be a mark. If you're above getting worked, I've said this before, what's the point in even watching? What is the point of pro wrestling if you won't allow yourself to get lost in the moment?
Indeed. But Winter is Coming was rather eventful for other reasons as well. Kenny Omega is your new AEW World Champion, of course. bastard. And there's some interesting reports coming out from Fightful Select about how much the guys in the back were kept in the dark regarding the whole plan about Kenny going to Impact Wrestling. I think from what I've gleaned from reading this, people were aware of Don Callis' involvement in it, but then I suppose a bit like us, the audience, you just thought, well, there's no surprise there. We've had Don Callis do stuff with AEW in the past. He did commentary, I believe, when there was Omega versus Page recently. So it was a surprise to quite a lot of people, but by the sounds of it, and certainly by the sounds of the Impact locker room, a lot of people are very happy and excited about this. I'm so fascinated to see what buzz this transfers onto Impact Wrestling. You look on social media, and they were trending, of course, yesterday, and like the ratings are going to be unbelievable to read next week.
It's going to be very, very interesting because they're on Access TV, which isn't as widely available as some other channels that host wrestling shows. And the thing about Access TV is that they don't always issue TV ratings, so sometimes it can be very tricky to track down Impact's viewership figures. Pro Wrestling Torch are usually right on top of them, however, and I believe Impact's numbers typically fall somewhere around 150,000 a week. So that kind of ballpark. So you're absolutely right. It's going to be very interesting to see what kind of upturn there is with all of this. An interesting thing about Impact as well is that I've been told that they broadcast for free on Twitch live as well. So following that channel could be quite interesting too. But yeah, I mean, I think this relationship is going to be very good for Impact in particular. I think Kenny will bring a certain buzz to that this week. You know, it's already a really good show, Impact Wrestling. It's been very solid and very consistent for a long time now, and you know it will be very difficult for them long term to wash off the old stench, and that's kind of a shame because it's nothing to do with anyone who's currently in the company. It's just, you know, certain events that have gone down in their history. But yeah, I can't wait to see how this plays out and what kind of relationship will unfold here. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And
if, like me, you're thinking, I'm going to use this as a springboard to get back properly into Impact Wrestling, I'd watch, you know, YouTube clips and keep, you know, aware of their pay-per-views, but I don't watch them on a weekly basis. If you're thinking, oh, how am I on earth going to get into this, and I want to know what's going on before next week's show with Kenny Omega on it, guess what? Simon Miller does ups and downs on Impact Wrestling. Go and watch that.
Yeah, he'll help you out, and then you can track it down afterwards, fill in the blanks. Gonna rush through these last two stories here because we ramble like Mother Hubbards. Let's talk about Sting's AEW t-shirt. It is already a huge money shifter, a huge merch mover for the promotion. Nice little design he came out with on Dynamite this week with the bones, not bones, he doesn't swing a bone, it's a baseball bat. What am I on about? He's not Tony Bone. It's a cool little design, and it is already the record-breaking shirt. It has sold more t-shirts in 24 hours than any other t-shirt in Pro Wrestling Tees history. Pro Wrestling Tees posted this to Instagram yesterday, confirming the news. Sting, already a merch mover. It's an iconic image, isn't it? Sting, the face paint, the bat, the trench coat, everything. Has AEW brought in a bigger name than Sting so far? I mean, Bret Hart, right, for unveiling the world title.
I did like Matt Hardy's tweet about him being the second biggest icon in AEW. He's brilliant on Twitter at the moment, Matt Hardy.
Nobody's bigger than Big Money Matt, baby. But yeah, good stuff. Making money. People are buying the shirt. Good stuff.
Yeah, spoiler alert to all my relatives. That's what you're getting for Christmas. No surprise there. Like you say, we were, you know, buzzing about his arrival in AEW, but it was very conspicuous by they were like, I didn't get the shirt just in time for Christmas. So congratulations, though. Hell of an achievement. And switching back to Kenny Omega, we featured quite a lot of people being stupid and trying to go after wrestlers on Twitter. Yeah, don't do that, because then this will happen. Kenny Omega was responding to a fan who tweeted him saying, oh, bloody hell, typical executive vice president making himself world champion on Twitter, which was, I think, the argument, which was the polar opposite to what everyone's been saying for the last year. Cool, why isn't Kenny Omega world champion? What is he, crap or something? Well, don't say that, because then Kenny Omega will mess you up like this. He tweeted saying, you got it all wrong. I'm just a lowly executive best wrestler of all time. That's kind of why I win everything everywhere. That's how life works. They tried to come back at him, and he said, the only power I have is to make you cry. me saying, is Kenny Omega the best wrestler ever, is already going to spark an argument in the comments. But I sense this is probably slightly more of a gimmick thing, Andy.
Oh, 100%. Kenny knows what he's doing here, doesn't he? It's 100% an in-character thing. He's the best bout machine. That's his nickname. You know, he's the guy who, during his ring entrance, he has like 700 six-star matches or whatever, read out by Justin Roberts in North Carolina. Online wrestling discussion in 2020, on Twitter in particular, because you've only got your 200 and whatever characters, kind of sucks. My hope for 2021, and this is a faint hope because it's never going to happen, is that, you know, we could just maybe like put tribalism in the bin forever, and, you know, we could have like well thought out, nourishing debates where people learn stuff and, you know, are respectful of other people's points and so forth. That's never going to happen in a million years. People are going to just keep kind of sniping at each other and being little troll assholes. But hey, brother and sisters, guess what? That's what the block and mute buttons are for. So there we go.
Yeah, I think there's more chance of me being verified, if I'm perfectly honest. But speaking of Twitter, at WhatCulture WWE, of course, if you want to get in touch with us. Let's move on to your Twitter questions. First question today comes from Corey Renbohm. Apologies for butchering your surname there, Corey. He says, hey guys, with TK and AEW forming working agreements with NWA and Impact, do you think we could see Ring of Honor and AEW making similar arrangements? Could we see a champ versus champ versus champ versus champ match?
It's an interesting proposition, isn't it? Gary Cassidy, the wrestling journalist, tweeted out overnight after Winter is Coming that it kind of feels like, you know, beneath WWE a little bit, the wrestling world as a whole is coming together. And there are certainly signs of that. I like that a lot. I like that take a lot. Ring of Honor, I'm not terribly sure on what kind of political issues there might be between networks and interpersonal relationships and executives and everything, but I think it's a really cool prospect. Roosh, of course, is the AEW World Champion. I love that dude with his Kirk Hammett hair and his brawling, and you know, he's got the Ingo Bernales faction over there as well with Dragon Lee, his brother, and everyone else. Kenny King. It would be a lot of fun to see. I would like to see it, but without kind of considering like various networks and stuff, I'm not sure it's something I can see happening.
Very interested to see Triple H saying, yeah, we'll have a working relationship with anyone. What's MLW up to? Fancy just suddenly panicking as this wrestling alliance gets set up.
I love that Triple H, that Triple H comment. Yeah, I mean, look what we've done with Evolve. We ran them into the ground. Hey, the British indie scene, yeah, we worked with them, and we destroyed it. So, good stuff.
Second question today comes from Left for Jed. Great name that on Twitter.
That's quality.
Saying, will the first Blood and Guts match for AEW actually be a cross promotion instead of AEW stars only? We haven't considered this, Andy.
Oh, that's really interesting. That's a fascinating prospect, really, isn't it? Because there are all kinds of awesome people in Impact that would fit really well in the Blood and Guts theme, like things like Sami Callihan, Ken Shamrock. Why the hell not? Why not throw him in there? I think Moose would be a lot of fun.
Moose, as well.
Yes. Maybe a little scamp like Ace Austin running around trying to avoid all the wanton violence. Eric Young would be great in there, man, as well. I think this is a really interesting idea, but I think they will save Blood and Guts until we have live crowds.
That's unquestionably
the reason they wiped out in the first place. So if this working relationship is still bearing fruit on screen when the bastard bastards off into its bastard base, never to rear its bastarding head again, then yes, I think that's a possibility. But I think it all depends on how quickly we make this just bollocks disease piss off.
Could we actually have a good invasion angle, perhaps?
Oh my goodness. The first good invasion angle since CZW and Ring of... I'm a nerd and a hipster, I know. Let's move on.
Final question today comes from Index JW. Says, we've just seen the Spotify results. I'm intrigued to know your most watched piece of wrestling this year, after Simon said he watched Sting's return 5 times. My number one has to be Sammy singing Judas. That's a classic.
Sammy singing Judas is a great one. Honestly, man, it might be Sting's return. I watched the clip that they uploaded to YouTube and Twitter with Tony Schiavone's reaction.
Yeah.
I must have watched it about 20 times. I was such a little mark for that moment. Totally got lost in the whole thing. I think the whole presentation of it was just awesome. And it just filled me with joy. It might honestly be that, man.
It was a nice early Christmas present. And like you say, Tony really makes that moment. Yeah. For me, though, it's got to be Edge returning at the Royal Rumble. Especially with just that face of his. I mean, I watched it again the other day and got a bit emotional, if I'm perfectly honest. Not just because he was obviously clearly so happy to be back doing what he loves, but just because there was bloody people there. And my God, do I miss that in my wrestling.
It's a perfect wrestling moment. Like, just flawless. You cannot script anything better than Edge's return. You just can't.
Yeah, let us know your most watched moment in the comment section below, and we'll move on to today's. And finally, very excited to bring you this. So overnight, Adam Pearce, Postman Pearce, who seemingly runs both Raw and SmackDown, tweeted, "It's been suggested that perhaps I could use an assistant. You guys know anyone looking for a gig?" And he posted a photo, Andy, with Billy Bloody Kay, who responded, "Oh, Mr. Pearce, I'm updating my resume as we speak. I'll find you tomorrow." This is the dream. This is what needs to happen, Andy.
It might be entertaining. No, Billy Kay's great in those little peripheral roles. She's a really fun personality, like Peyton Royce. Then they never should have split them up in the first place.
No.
Anything that gets these just really annoying people on TV more often is good in my book.
Exactly, and it can't be as bad as David Otunga when he did it, where his gimmick was,
Jesus.
I think, drink coffee.
Yeah, have a mug and wear a sweater vest. All right.
He wasn't. Let's be honest. He wasn't the only. The mug wasn't the only mug on screen when he was there. Let us know your thoughts on that and all today's news stories in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to What Culture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts. As I mentioned earlier, that interview I did with Darby Allin is available right now. We're going to be previewing SmackDown a little bit later on, and of course, Wrestle Culture with a hashtag Bloody Good Quiz. Let us know your thoughts on Twitter as well at WhatCulture WWE Watch. There, follow both of us. You can follow Andy Murray at.
Follow me at Andy H. Murray. The H today stands for Hey, David Otunga drinks instant coffee. Boom.
Oh, God, that's got to hurt. That's got to burn more than the crap. Anyway, follow me on Twitter at Adam Wilburn. Follow us all at WhatCulture WWE. But for now, my thanks to Andy Murray. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you soon.
That was the worst thing I've ever done.